A couple of things first. I wanted to make special mention to welcome Councilman Carter back to the dais. It's good to see you back. You're looking well, and I hope that your recovery progresses in fine fashion. The second thing I would like to say is to commend Mr. Sharp for withdrawing the F&B ordinance. I think that was a good move. It had good foresight, and I think that the reasoning that it is important to keep money in the general fund to pay our bills, especially in these hard economic times, was a good one. So thank you for that. Now, in respect to the CRC issue and the mayor's veto, I recollect being in the finance meeting prior to the recommendation to bring that issue back into council. At that time, there was a discussion, and probably most of you would remember this, between the mayor and Mr. Osaturo in respect to the issue of conflict of interest. Mr. Osaturo claimed that that is the reason why he resigned from the commission. The mayor, on the other hand, contended that it was due not to conflict of interest, but the issue really was separation of powers. In that, I fully agreed with his position. It is, in fact, a separation of power issue. Now, the mayor, though, in his veto, seemed to also repeat the fact that it was a separation of power issue, but then went ahead and argued that it was really a matter of the council trying to infringe upon his right to appoint members to the Carmel Redevelopment Commission. In that argument, he brought up two cases, both of which, in reading the background to those cases, were totally off point. Board of Public Safety v. Bankovich did not have anything to do with an executive statutory right to appoint. It had to do with Common Council hiring rules. Fort Wayne v. Bentley, 1979, also was not on point because it had to do with conditions in respect to employing firefighters. So what was in his veto that made a case for his veto? It's something I couldn't find. Common Council, from what I have looked through Indiana statute, has the right to make rules for its own members. That is a right that has always been held for every legislative body, which is separate and distinct from the executive branch. It is my opinion that the mayor has absolutely no standing to infringe upon that right. Now, the Common Council took away one of the clauses of that ordinance, and it was left with this. It says, the Common Council shall appoint 2 members of the Redevelopment Commission. The mayor shall appoint 3 members of the Redevelopment Commission. Notwithstanding the above, no member of the Common Council shall serve as a member of the Redevelopment Commission. This did not talk about his statutory right to appoint. The mayor can appoint anybody on any commission in the executive branch or in that quasi-governmental agency called the Carmel Redevelopment Commission. And so, frankly, I don't think the mayor had any standing to veto this ordinance, unless the council is expected to accept the fact that he can cross the gray lines of separation of powers and do so. Now, another thing that I've heard around is the fact that this ordinance was a deliberate move to remove Mr. Carter from the Carmel Redevelopment Commission. Now, in point of actual fact, Mr. Carter was a mayoral appointee, and it is expected, I would suspect, from the mayor, that if he names someone to a particular commission, then that person would be exercising the will of the mayor. Otherwise, why would he have kept Mr. Carter on that commission for so many years? And it has been quite a number of years. And I would say that Mr. Carter most probably has exercised his duties in a faithful way. And so I don't think that is a rationale for this ordinance. But it is an issue of separation of power. And in that sense, I urge the council to hold true to their vote in passing this ordinance and to override the veto, or in any legal way you might want to look at it, revisit the ordinance and vote for it again, which I would assume would be veto-proof, because I think it is the right thing to do. I think that there should not be any particular council member on two separate bodies, especially a quasi-governmental body, to cast his vote twice for the same issue. It should be separate and distinct. Also, the mayor argued that if this ordinance is upheld, then Mr. Carter would be prevented, should he decide to not be reappointed to the commission or would resign on December 31st, would not be allowed to continue in his duties for a 30-day period as per Indiana statute. Point of actual fact, I cannot see why the council would prevent him from doing so, because it is in fact part of the Indiana Code. I think that Mr. Carter would deserve the right to be present in the opening of the Palladium in January, and I would urge that the council do not prevent him from doing so. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Carter.
Since this does pertain to me personally, I'll be recusing myself from this.
Thank you very much. The mayor has indeed vetoed Ordinance D 2015-10 as amended, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Carmel, Indiana, amending Chapter 2, Article 1, Division Roman numeral 2, Section 2-8C, adding 2-8D, Redevelopment Commission of the Carmel City Code. Sponsors are Councilors Asaturo, Griffiths, Ryder, Seinsticker, Sharp, and Snyder. I'm going to get a couple procedural things out of the way since we don't get an opportunity to confront this very often. Indiana Code IC 36-4-6-16C states that whenever an ordinance, order, or resolution is vetoed by the city executive, it is considered defeated unless the legislative body, at its first regular or special meeting after the 10-day period prescribed by above subsection A, passes the ordinance, order, or resolution over his veto by a 2/3 vote. Carmel City Code 3-27D basically states the same thing. I'm not going to read the entire paragraph, but one item that is different in Carmel is that such ordinance, order, or resolution shall not become a law unless at its next regular or special meeting after the time named for the mayor's action, the council shall again pass the same by a 2/3 vote of all the members elect. So Carmel has chosen to hold itself to a slightly stricter standard than the state standard. That will require a vote of 5 members in the affirmative. The process is very simple. It is simply the matter of a motion to approve the ordinance being properly seconded, a vote being taken, and if we achieve the prescribed minimum vote, then the ordinance is passed overriding the mayor's veto. I would make only one comment since the mayor's veto message has been out publicly. Actually, Mr. Spiegelman hit on the main point. There has been no intention, and there is no intention by the council through this action to prescribe or attempt to limit the mayor's right to make appointments to the Redevelopment Commission. That was a part of the originally introduced ordinance, but Mr. Ryder amended or proposed an amendment, and quite rightly so, at the committee meeting, and that amendment was accepted by this body to remove any mention of or intent to limit the powers of the mayor. This ordinance acts solely on the members of this council, and it is, as Mr. Spiegelman stated, the council imposing a rule upon itself, and that is the only intention here. The mayor may appoint any member of this council to serve on the redevelopment commission, and if the member of the council wishes to serve on the redevelopment commission, they may accept that appointment and resign from the council prior to being sworn in to their CRC seat. So that being said, is there a motion on D 2015-10 as amended?
Mr. President,
Mr. Seidensticker.
move to approve ordinance D 2015-10 as amended.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve ordinance D 2015-10 as amended. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries 6-0.